As we approach the end of August, an abundance of wild food is to be found ripening all around. In urban areas, hedgerow and park, thousands upon thousands of organic fruits and nuts are preparing to provide free food for your family, friends and community. Here are just some of them. Even in a town, it's amazing the number of fruits that you can find in autumn. So for instance, just in this small area, there's a fig tree, and those figs will ripen in about a month's time. And very often they're overhanging public footpaths, and you can just help yourselves to those. And in this small stretch, these are medlars which you make into a preserve, and you wait until the fruit is bletted, which means it's gone soft and seems overripe, but they make wonderful preserves. And then this is one that the Romans gave to us. What did the Romans ever do for us? Well, they planted sweet chestnut trees all over, and these sweet chestnuts will ripen in about a month's time. And obviously the simple thing to do is just roast them, but you can make them into other things as well. And if we go round the corner, we have rowan berries. And in Germany, everybody who goes to a hospital gets a tonic of rowan berries before they start any treatment. Some sort of purgative, I would imagine. They're a bit tart for my taste. A little cherry tree in there, which the fruits are all gone from now. And then it looks like it's going to be a great season for rose hips. And these contain about 20 times as much vitamin C as oranges. And the most famous thing to do with them is to make a syrup out of them as a preserve. So in that small stretch, just 25 metres, there's at least 6 different things that you can eat. And that's without even looking at the ground and seeing what's growing there. So, there's lots of gardens in rural villages and towns that are planted with damson trees or damson bushes, and they produce these little, they're really miniature plums, and you can pickle them, or you make jam with them, or you cook with them. They're a little bit tart now as we approach the end of August, but in mid-September they'll be ripe, and the trees are festooned with them. So it's a bit tart, but it is a plum. Organic status about 5 years ago, and then about 2 years ago field mushrooms started appearing back in the meadow. Now most people know or think that autumn is really the season for mushrooms, but in truth they're available all year round. But field mushrooms like this come out just as the approach of autumn, and these are perfect, in perfect condition. And you don't want to pull the entire mushroom out because you want to protect the mycelium, which is underneath the soil, which this is just the fruiting body from the mycelium, so you're not doing it any harm at all by picking these. And obviously, if you're not familiar with mushrooms, you should use a field identification guide, because there are other white mushrooms that can be poisonous. And when there's a glut of them like this, I mean obviously we could just fry them and cook them, but in this case I'm going to dry them or I'm going to pickle them. So this is a hawthorn bush, and these are haw berries, and here we are in the middle of August, and when you even try them raw, they're a bit nutty. They're apparently very good for the circulation system. But what I do with these is make them into a hawberry sauce, which involves just boiling them up, adding some vinegar and some sugar. You can find a recipe on the internet for this sort of thing. And it makes a substitute for Hossin sauce, plum sauce. It tastes just like it, and I tend to serve it with duck, and that combination is absolutely fantastic. And this is one of my favourite foods, bar none. The fruits of the elderbush, which are called elderberries. And these little black grape-like jewels It's actually quite a bad year for it. These should be much more numerous than they are. There weren't many bees around to pollinate the flowers this year, so it's going to be quite a poor harvest. But you can cook with them. But ideally I make a syrup which I preserve over the winter, and you can use it in so many different ways. And I do have a video about elderberry syrup specifically. And then recently scientists have found out that it actually does treat and alleviate the symptoms of influenza. They're delicious to eat as a syrup. So I don't think that many people realise that walnuts grow in Britain, and this is another legacy from the Roman occupation of Britain. So these are walnuts encased in a green covering, and you basically wait about another month until they start to ripen. They'll start to fall. If you left them long enough, they would open and you'd be left with the walnut inside, the kernel of the walnut. But if you take them home once they've started falling, and you just let them dry, and the cases will fall off and you're left with the walnuts to eat. So here we are on the perimeter of a playing field, and it's bounded by domestic gardens, and it's overhung by a whole bunch of different varieties of plum trees. And I don't know specifically what plum tree it is. There are absolutely hundreds, and I've been out with a plum expert and she doesn't know what all of them are. I do know a couple, but if you see anything like this that's growing on a tree that looks plum-like, there's nothing poisonous that grows to this size. And if you're in any doubt, you can just cut it open and smell it, and you'll know right away that that's a plum because it smells like a plum. Thousands of the things everywhere. Once you start noticing them, you can't stop noticing them. For more information on wild food, how to find it, identify it and cook with it, see the other episodes of The Hedge Chef on YouTube or through Wilderness Discovery's Facebook page.